Welcome back to the Smugglers Den. This is episode 51. I'm your host, Tiny Grimes, and I can barely talk. I'm so sick. But you know what? I don't care. I just played draft last night, and now I have to talk about it. So, as always, thank you so much to everyone who supports the show on Patreon, Tiny Grimes. Expect to see a bunch of draft content going up over there. For the next couple of weeks, I imagine that's where I'll be putting most of my energy. Just because I'm the kind of person who really likes to get deep into stuff I don't know that well. And I am fully admitting that I am new to the Destiny draft format, as is everyone else. And so it's been a ton of fun learning as I go. And so I'd like to bring in my co-host today, Mike, the Rebel Spy, who apparently is permanently on 2 Destiny shows. Welcome, Mike. And how did you pull off this tremendous feat?
What's up, Tiny? I don't know.
You can just say it. You're awesome.
Hey, well, you flatter me.
So Mike, you played your first draft last night as well, right?
I did, yeah.
Okay, so we played at the store called Fire and Dice, which we've played at many times, and they did a really smart move, and they got their 6 draft sets, and instead of selling them, they said, we're not selling any of them. Come on by, play some draft, we'll loan you the set. Mike, what do you think of that decision?
I think it's awesome. I think that every store should do that. It's so much smarter than selling them to, like 6 people, and then only those 6 people can draft until the full release comes out, who knows when. But yeah, I think it was really smart, and yeah, loved it.
Yep, me too. And I had one, and John had one. We had bought them elsewhere, so we brought them. So that was fine. But yeah, that's really smart. I want to talk about the negative real quick of draft before we get into how amazing it is. Because, by the way, to be clear, draft is awesome. But there was one problem that John and I were thinking about on the way out. And that was it cost $20 to enter, which is reasonable-ish, right? 6 packs at $3 each is what, 18? So they're charging us more than $3 a pack. But then first place only got $12, and 6th place got $6. So the point is, if you play Destiny Draft, you lose all of your money?
Right.
That's kind of an issue.
A little bit.
Now, I'm not saying I have a solution either, by the way. I'm just saying...
No.
When I look at that, you could say... Well, you get all those cards. It's like, yeah, but Destiny cards aren't worth anything anymore. Like, unless you just happen to get obscenely lucky and get, like, an ancient lightsaber or something, pretty much everything else is not worth anything.
Yeah, I mean, like, just the normal legendaries are worth at least, $2-3 a piece. I think like on the low end, so it's
sure,
not totally worthless, but
that?
you can't. But I mean, like, Magic's kind of the same way, isn't it? Like. Back when I used to draft Magic, it was, I think, $15. You got 3 packs. I think Magic booster packs are $4 each, so you were paying $3 extra for the prize pool. Like, they could do it where they just sell you the packs, but then there's no prize pool. So
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what the answer is either. I think the answer is for the store to sell the packs like at cost or something. But then how do they make their money? So I don't understand the logistics of it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
But that's something we'll have to figure out. But we're going to ignore that for now, Mike. We're only going to focus on the other part of draft. And let's start with this, Mike. So you sat down. It was me, you, our buddy John, our buddy Al. I didn't know that other guy. Is he a Star Wars Destiny regular?
He has played a little bit in the past, but I wouldn't call him a regular.
Okay, so someone who is probably like a little bit more casual of a Destiny player, and then a guy who doesn't play Destiny, but
yeah.
It's a friend of John and I's he like likes Destiny and he owns like a starter deck, but it was always like I can't afford like $400 every 4 months. I play Game of Thrones and that takes all my time and money. I just want to play Destiny casually, and it doesn't seem like you can. And so he was like, awesome, I'll show up to this. And so my perspective, Mike, was all 6 of us, very different levels. I'd say like you, John, and I are the upper ends of the competitive side. You have Al, who's a competitive player who it feels like also leans a little casual sometimes. A casual guy, a guy who doesn't play. And from my perspective, everyone had a great time.
Yeah, 100%. Everybody was enjoying it, and yeah, from what I saw, definitely.
Yeah. And that's pretty impressive when we're all in the same pod, radically different approaches to the game and skill levels, and we all had an awesome time. To me, that is like the very definition of success.
Yeah, I could not agree more.
All right, so what was your favorite part of the draft?
The draft.
Yeah.
That's always my favorite part of playing draft. It's just like there's something satisfying about opening those packs and then like having them kind of go around the table figuring out like how you're going to build your deck. And even though I failed spectacularly, it was an excellent time.
Yeah, I sometimes feel like two things happen after a draft. Either I just want to flip coins to see who wins because I don't care and then move on to the next draft, or I get that deck where I'm like, dang, I want to see how this plays out. Like, this is such a cool combination of cards. So, for instance, I had the Magma Guard. I don't even know the name of this card. A 3-cost card that lets you ready a non-unique character. And I had Endless Ranks. And so what I desperately wanted to do was to go, like, Magna Guard, get them to attack him, soak up all the damage, Endless Ranks him back, then move redeploy weapons over to him, have him be the last character standing, swing in, get him close to death, they kill the Magna Guard, they claim, think the game's over, boom, 3-cost card, stands him back up, and he wins the game. Oh my god. That was my dream, and then I didn't play the Magna Guard or that 3-cost card.
Yeah, but you still ended up with a pretty sick deck.
Oh yeah. For some reason, people passed me a Django, like just out of nowhere, and I was like, I guess I'm using Django. Like 3 people passed Django. Oh, okay, I'll take Django.
Yeah, that was one of my central mistakes.
Oh, you passed the Django also? Okay.
Yeah, I opened the Django.
Okay, now I want to know, what'd you pick over the Django then?
I don't remember. That's not entirely true. I'm just embarrassed to say what it was.
Come on, Mike. What was it?
I'm like 80% sure I picked a backup muscle instead.
Interesting. So,
yeah, interesting indeed.
I made a video with 5 tips about Destiny, and I'll give you one here, Mike. I'm going to give you this tip.
All right.
Tip 1.
Let's hear about it.
Pick dice, man. Pick dice cards. Don't pick backup muscle. Backup muscle is awesome, but if you have a good dice card in your pack, you got to pick the dice cards because that's where the power is.
Yeah. So like being my first draft and not having any kind of like strategy going into it, I didn't fully appreciate the fact that if you don't draft characters, you have to play the characters that are in the box,
right?
And also that you can't play like the red, blue, and yellow characters together on the same team. So like if I had I wanted so badly to just like draft again like right afterwards because I was just like, if I had known, or like if I had even thought about it a little bit, it's like I would have taken at least one character that I had opened or was passed to me.
Gotcha. And that's one of the downsides, right, of having the store owning the kits and giving them to people. You really have to go through that kit and look at the numbers of the characters and like what are my options. And that's the advantage John and I had by having the kit. Like right when we got there, we were opening up and we're like, okay, so the 3 characters equals 31, so that's not going to work. And we had in our heads the numbers floating around. It was like 10, 11, 10. Mm-hmm. Okay, what can I pair with that? And 6 for the Jawa.
Yeah. I think next time, like, I will have a much better kind of strategy and approach going into it. So I'm like very excited for the next one.
Yeah, me too. I wanted to draft again that night. We finished at like 10:45, and I was like, we should draft again. The store's like, you should get out of here. Do you see how we're breaking all the tables down? That means you should leave now. So that was pretty funny. So let's talk real quick. I'll show the first card I picked in the whole draft. and then you tell us yours. So my first
All right.
card, picked in the whole draft, the 20-cent raised staff. That's right.
That.
Raised
Yep.
staff is pretty dang good in draft, actually. Having 3 damage sides and a side that removes damage and $1 only for $2, it's kind of absurd.
Super good. Yeah. I seem to recall when we played against each other, you had a race staff out and it was showing a melee damage, and you played that yellow card where you get to re-roll a die, and if it shows up the same symbol, you get to resolve it, increasing its value by 2. And when you got 50-50 odds on that, especially in draft, like you can deal a lot of damage.
Yeah, against the odds, it's called. And yeah, that card is one of my secret awesome cards from my draft. And it's what's so fun about draft is that as you're building your deck, like that was my first card, was Ray's Staff. I knew I was going to be playing Anakin, and so that has the 2 melee sides, and I was like, and I got the Rebel Trooper earlier, and that guy has 3 gun sides, and so I was like, I bet against the odds is going to be good, right? Like I didn't pick it early or anything, but no one wanted this card, and so I was like, I think this will fit really well in my card, in my deck. So that's one of the really fun things about draft.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what was your first pick of the whole draft?
So my first pick, so the rares in the packs that I opened were the Z95 Headhunter. The second one I can't remember, but I don't think it was very noteworthy. But then the one that I ended up picking was Slave One, and that card was definitely good.
So did you rare draft that, or did you draft that because you thought this will be really good in a draft format?
No, I drafted it because I thought that it would be good in a draft format. I figured if I can get it onto the table, it could do some serious damage.
Yeah, and in our game you got it really late, but I heard against Lucas. I was like, oh, so Lucas, you beat Mike? And he was like, no, Slave One destroyed me. Oh.
Yeah, Slave One did like 6 or 7 damage to him.
Yeah, Slave One seems like a really good card. All right, so let's backtrack for a minute before we go into some cards. We have a whole list of cards we want to talk about. Let's talk a little bit more generally about draft. Are there any big takeaways you had from draft? So you said, like, after we drafted once, you immediately were like, oh, I did that all wrong. So what's your first takeaway that you came out with where you were like, okay, this is a big thing we got to know?
I mean, like, the biggest thing is that, like, you have to draft a character. Because you can't rely on just the characters in the box to be able to do well. I think the second takeaway would be just to try and find like some decent removal, because like the total number of dice that your opponent is using in general is going to be a lot less than like a normal game. So removal is a bit better because like they just have less dice. So when you remove one of theirs, it has a bigger impact.
Yeah. Did you pass on any removal that you remember where you were like, ooh, I can't believe I passed on that?
Not really. The pack, I feel like our pool was fairly light on removal in general. I picked a couple, which it turned out to be really bad, which I'll talk about later. But I got one Imperial Inspection, and I passed another one. I kind of wish that I had kept that other one. Because that's basically removal and
Imperial
super
Inspection, it turns out, is amazing in draft.
Yeah.
Our
really
pool was really low on removal. My removal cards ended up being just awful. I had like Rebel Assault might have been my best one, which
oh wow.
Yeah, that, and then Persuade I took 2 copies of.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you're definitely right. Removal is really a rare commodity. And I think you should be prioritizing it very highly, but I don't think you prioritize it over decent weapons.
I agree with that.
All right. A big takeaway I had was the game moves slower, and as such, playing 3-cost weapons and like 4-cost vehicles is totally fine. Grab them. They usually have a huge impact because they're such good cards. If you get one in your opening hand, you don't even need to mulligan it. You can probably play it turn 1. You get a resource. If not, don't spend anything. Play it turn 2 and just own the board.
Yeah.
All right. Any other takeaways you have, Mike?
Um, I think playing cards that interact with vehicles is pretty good, especially in a draft where you're playing with like Empire War cards.
Yeah.
Like for one, I think most drafters are going to play that Fang Fighter that's in the Rivals pack,
Yes.
um, like at least. And then if you're opening up Empire War cards, there's obviously a lot more vehicles and supports in there. So I know that I drafted a Commandeer, which
Oh,
lets you resolve one of your opponent's vehicle dice,
wow.
uh,
That's cool.
along with a surgical strike, just to try and kill one if I could,
Nice.
and an EMP grenade as well. So
Yeah, you hit
uh,
that EMP grenade against me. You dropped it on the table, and I was like, all right, good thing I only have Fang Fighter. I just won't be playing that anytime soon.
mm-hmm.
A card
Yeah.
that I thought was going to be great was Partnership
Mm,
because of the
mhm.
fact that you're going to get Fang Fighter. But one thing I was thinking about, because there's so little removal, I'm not sure taking that one extra action is that critical.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking it was kind of a mistake to draft it because I drafted it not super high, like certainly not over dice and not over removal, but like in that next slot of like, ooh, this is a good card.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I might have
Yeah,
misevaluated that.
I remember passing that thinking like I don't know if this is as good right now as it normally would be.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
and I think you're right. I never once played it the whole day. Though I never got my Fang Fighter out, so that could be part of it.
Hmm.
Anything else that you thought was especially interesting or important?
Um, no, in terms of drafting, I think that those were my main takeaways. I'm sure that I will have more once I have a bit more experience.
Yeah, it is really important to remember that this is just a drafting is super fun. Here are our preliminary thoughts rather than Mike and I trying to sit here and be like, we are the premier drafters of Star Wars Destiny. We've done it once.
Yeah, and poorly in my case.
I guess I'm going to ask you this question. Did you hate draft at all? And let me define
Um,
that real quick for those of you out there. It means like say you're not playing a mill deck and you see a really good mill card, like a buyout or something. You're like, no, I'm grabbing that.
um, I think, yeah, kind of. I hate drafted a bit a defensive position, although
Uh,
I played it. I just like didn't want to get it played against me as well.
yeah.
Anger was another one where it's like of the cards in the pack, like nothing I really wanted. Like I didn't really want any of them, so it's like I'd rather take an anger than have someone else, play an anger against me. So I think those are probably the two.
Okay, that's fair. And you weren't playing blue, right?
No, I was
Yeah.
not.
That's another takeaway I have, and this is kind of obvious, but if you can get three colors, oh my goodness, it really opens things up for you.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I was like, I could just be like, "There's a good card, I'll take it. There's another good card, I'll take it." Oh, people are drafting blue like crazy. That's fine. I'll take all the red cards, and then if a decent blue card comes my way, I'm both hate drafting it and taking it. So it was amazing.
Yeah, it's really really interesting because it's like like at the start of the draft, like you can reliably go into at least two colors,
Yeah,
but then you have to pick a character to be able to go into all three because you can't play all three of the
yeah,
colored characters together in the Rivals pack. So I wasn't like super confident that I'd be able to get a blue character to fit with my yellow and red stuff, and I had been drafting mostly yellow and red stuff. Although at some point I probably should have switched out of red and into blue,
Hmm.
because I think that Anakin is a lot better than Lobot, and Lobot isn't bad actually. He's better than I expected him to be,
Yeah.
but I think Anakin's just way better.
Gotcha. I agree with that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, the nice thing is you don't have to do much. You just need like 1, 8, or 9 cost character, which they are
Hmm.
pretty plentiful. I mean, in our draft we saw, what's the Wookiee warrior again? Is he 9?
He's 8, I think.
He's 8. All right, so we saw a Wookiee
He
warrior.
could be 9. He could be 9.
We
I'm not
saw
100%
2
sure.
copies of the Rebel Trooper.
Hmm. The
Um,
Magna Guard.
we saw the Magna Guard. We saw Baze Natal. We
Yeah.
saw quite a few. I could have actually gone 4 characters if I'd wanted to, and I just decided not to.
Hmm.
And I kind of regret that. It could have been sick.
Yeah. I think the one blue character that I had in a pack, I opened up the Django along with the Seventh Sister
Oh,
plus something else.
that's right.
But I think Seventh Sister is not quite as good if you can't get the ID9. I think Anakin's probably just better.
Yeah, I think at 11 cost, Seventh Sister's straight bad without
Yeah.
the Seeker Droid.
Yeah.
If you open a Seeker Droid, one Seeker Droid, and you draft it, I don't understand how that works. Like, so you can start with it on her,
Because then
but then if you play a
you
Seeker
like can't
Droid,
play
you're
it though,
stuck?
right?
I don't get it.
Yeah, that seems a little weird.
Yeah, I don't understand how that would work.
It's a little fuzzy.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to get a little clarification on that one. But
Yeah.
yeah, another potential problem that I encountered, and this is one of my takeaways, is that while it's great that the erratas are now official for draft, it's also the worst thing they could have ever done, right? Because it's like a new player has zero chance to know what the erratas are, like absolute zero. And even I forgot It's a Trap had been errated, forgot Heat of Battle had been errated, and blew John out with a 5-die Heat of Battle.
Oh man. Yep. I agree that that's a bit of a problem. And I like on one hand I sort of understand why like Imperial Inspection, for instance, would be
Yes.
like absolutely ridiculous. But I don't think like Heat of Battle or It's a Trap or Hyperspace Jump or Outer Rim Smuggler. I don't, or even Vibro Knife.
Yeah.
Maybe Vibro Knife, but probably not, because like you don't play as many shields in draft anyway. So,
Yeah, I think it's
but
fine.
I think for the most part, it's just Imperial Inspection that would like just straight up be broken in draft.
Yep.
So yeah, it makes me kind of sad that they stuck with all the erratas because like during John's game, I think, or like before John's game, he was playing against one of the guys who doesn't really play that much, and he had to kind of ask at the beginning of the game like what the erratas were, and that's just like kind of a bummer.
Yeah, I think they actually need to fix that. I don't think the draft format can have erratas as much as it has to, right? So I don't know what that means, right? Like I think it both has to have the erratas because of Imperial Inspection would be broken, but I don't think it can. I think the only way you can do it is if you have a rule that the store has to apply or supply a list of all the erratas to all the players and go
Yeah,
over it
before
with
the
them
draft.
ahead of time. And it only works if there's only a couple of erratas. And so I really kind of like your idea of having, I mean, even just a separate draft errata list.
Yeah,
I think that would be fine.
I think that yeah, I think that makes sense. Or I mean, just straight up like it's not like every draft that you play, you're going to get one of those errata cards. So it's like it's not always a problem, and it's not like people are going into the draft trying to take those cards that had been errated. Like
Yeah.
for Magic, I know they deliberately never ban cards for limited, and it's just like if you get super lucky during your draft, like cool, whatever. Like it's going to be 3 rounds, and then it's going to be done, and then like that's not going to happen again theoretically. So I don't think that broken cards are really a problem in draft or as much of a problem, especially. So I would like to see them just remove the erratas straight up from from limited in general. I like
Even
even
Imperial
conceding that
Inspection,
Imperial Inspection is totally broken. Yeah, like I wouldn't mind if it
Yeah.
was what it
it's
was.
not as bad because you're not building your deck as easily around it with the disrupt sides.
Yes.
Right? You don't
Yeah,
have like an
unless you
elite
get real lucky.
Unkar. You get to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
You're just like,
Yeah.
I rolled my one dude who has one disrupt side, and I missed it.
Yeah,
Darn.
totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could not agree more
I mean,
about that.
on the other side, you can say this, that Wizards generally does a better job playtesting their cards than FFG has so far done, and so they can get away with it a little easier. But yeah, like you said, I can't think of another card outside of Imperial Inspection where I'm just like, wow, that breaks the game.
Yeah. And like even if it does, like who cares?
Yeah, like you
It's
could have
just
had
it's just
two,
draft.
but you wouldn't have because I saw one real early and was like, dang, if this was the old inspection, I would snap this up in a hurry.
Hmm.
And then if it's just
For
one,
sure.
like you have one Imperial inspection and two of your single dice characters have disrupts on them, that's not that game breaking. It's a little frustrating, but it's not
Yeah.
that game breaking.
Yeah, and I mean it's an uncommon, so it's not really going to be that like seeing two for us was pretty crazy, and then it's only in Spirit of Rebellion. So
Yeah.
if you don't draft Spirit of Rebellion, you don't have a problem.
Yeah, I think you're right though. I think erratas go. I don't think it's tenable.
Yeah,
All right.
it's
Cool.
just like too bad of an experience for a new player.
Yeah, it really is. It's just there's no way, and because draft is so secretive. You see a card like Heat of Battle. Imagine drafting Heat of Battle, playing it in the perfect moment, and having your opponent go, "Oh no 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 no! You just spent two for a card that's only going to do like 3 damage."
Hmm.
Like, what are you talking about? That is the worst. I'm leaving. Bye.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can see that being really problematic. All right.
yeah, I would
Why
love
don't we
to
move on
change
to
that.
some specific cards then? We're not going to talk about every card in draft because that's like a series of 1,000 videos that I'll be doing soon. My whole next month is just going to be me evaluating cards for the draft format. So get ready. But today we're going to talk about some cards that we actually drafted and that were either better than we thought they would be or quite a bit worse than we thought they would be.
Yeah, sounds good. A couple of the cards that I have are from the Rivals pack. That I
Nice.
was surprised that they were as good as they were.
Awesome. So let's go just one at a time. I'll start because I think I have more cards. And I'm going to start with the card that was my favorite card in the draft I was really excited about. Endless Ranks. That's right. You would think that Endless Ranks would not be playable in a limited format because you don't have a way to make endless resources, but you do. It's called The Game Goes On in Eternity. So I got a Rebel Trooper who has Guardian, and in
Hmm.
2 of my 3 games, he guardianed away a ton of damage and then came back to wreck the world.
Yep.
Oh, that was so fun, Mike.
That was very strong. I was feeling real bad about our game, and then you did that, and I was just like, okay, we're done here.
Yep, that happened in the other game too. I was clearly winning, and then when that
Yeah.
play happened, it was like, you know what? Why you got to be like that, right? I was finally feeling all right. I killed one of your guys. You're like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
He's full health. You did a total of 1 damage, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I had him at like 2 health left and Django at 2 health left, and then he died and then came back, and I was like, no.
And you had to slave one, so it was like
Yeah.
maybe I could turn it around.
Hmm.
No, 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 can't. All right, Mike, what's your card?
All right, so the first card that we've already talked about a bit is Imperial Inspection. Even with the errata, super good. I had the Jawa in my deck. I had the Jawa Scavenger and Ketsu, who each have one disrupt side. And then in terms of my upgrades, BB-8 I played has a disrupt, along with the repeating blaster from the
Ooh.
Rivals pack. And the EMP grenades actually has 2 disrupt sides, so I was fairly confident that I'd be able to get it off at least once. And I did an R game on turn 1, and it felt strong.
Yes,
Um,
very strong.
yeah, it just wasn't enough to like. It didn't set you back quite enough for me to be able to overcome the straight up like character disparity.
Yeah. Yeah, because your characters didn't actually have damage size. It was kind of a problem.
Yeah, a little bit.
But yeah, I had passed an Imperial Inspection, and then when you played it, and it was so amazing, I was like, oh my god, that card is still amazing. Why didn't I play? Why didn't I grab that?
Hmm.
Another card that I thought was amazing, not too surprisingly, is Aftermath. And if you think about it, the goal for everyone is to play 3 characters. So that means every single game there are 6 characters. Even with one Aftermath, if you get it a little bit later in the game, it's still fine. Like the game goes slow enough, no one's dying on turn 1. Most people aren't even dying turn 2. So that gives you like 13 cards, 12 cards into your deck to find it. There's a decent chance you're going to find it. It's really strong.
Yeah, that definitely in our game. I think you made at least like 4 or 5 resources off that, and it was just so crazy.
You know what that's enough for? And endless ranks.
Turns out it is. All right, so the next card that I played that I thought was actually pretty cool was Tinker from the Rivals pack.
Yeah.
It costs 0, and just being able to turn one of your dice to a resource side, like a 1 resource, ended up being like a lot more valuable than I had anticipated. Just like if I had a pay side or something like that, or at one point I used it to change Lobot to a focus so that I could change Slave 1 to the 4 side.
Whoa.
So it ended up being really versatile, and I liked it a lot, actually.
Yeah, John won his game with it. His opponent had 1 card left in hand, none in deck. He had his Rebel Commando out and only 1 card in hand. And he was like, 1 in 6, will I hit it? And then he's like, no, I'll just tinker it. And just put it on the
That's such a John move.
Yeah, totally a John move. It was funny.
I love it. I love it.
And I think what makes Tinker so powerful is that since there's so little good removal, just turning a die to a side is pretty darn good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that like if you know, if I use the force, or if like aim even like comes up in a draft, I think I would be much more apt to take it.
Yeah. I agree. A card that I was a little disappointed by was Persuade. Persuade is an Empire at War card. If you don't know it, I didn't know it. 0 cost, yellow. Choose an opponent who has less resources than you, then turn one of their dice to any side. That's obviously garbage in Constructed. But I was thinking in Limited, because we have so little removal, this might be good. The problem is, it's like, I just hate those cards anyway that turn one of your opponent's dice to one side, because if it's your dice, because there's so few removal, you can actually push it through. But you turn their die and they just re-roll. I feel like it's not a great card anyway, and then it's so situational. You have to have not even the same. You have to have more money than they have. It ended up being a real bust for me, and I think I had 2 in my deck even.
Oh wow!
But you know what it was great for? Rerolls.
Yeah, rerolls are quite good in draft. Yeah, so the next card for me that I ended up getting a lot of mileage out of was the Verpine sniper rifle from the box as well.
Yeah.
Like having 3 sides that can deal 2 damage, and the focus and the resource, like it's just a straight up good card for 2 resources. In our game, I think I might have just straight up put it on Ketsu, which was a problem. I figured like maybe I could draw into a redeploy that I could move over and like replace it with. But in the second game that I played, I played it on the Jawa turn 1.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So I think that's a little bit better, because it's like your opponent either kills the Jawa right away, and then I can move the sniper rifle over to Ketsu, or he saves the Jawa until like, you know, last or second to last, and I get more mileage out of the gun anyway. So I think that's probably the way to go with it. But yeah, it ended up doing a lot of damage, and yeah, it was good that it was in my deck, because my other upgrades did not deal nearly as much damage as that.
I did notice that. Another starter card that I liked a ton was Emulate. Emulate, 0 cost, neutral, says turn a character die to any side if there are 2 or more copies of that character in play. And you may think like, well, what are the odds of that? Well, if you're playing Anakin, the odds are like 90%.
Yeah.
And it's such a blowout too when it happens. They're like, for 0, you can turn your Slave 1 to the 4 side? What?
Yeah, when I read that card, I did not realize that it was any 2 characters on the table that were the same.
Turn a character die.
Got it.
So there's a chance I misplayed it at some point. I didn't have many non-character dice anyway. So
Yeah, I was looking at it as though like, oh, if you have two characters, you know, like that you have that are the same, but
yeah,
obviously that would be terrible. So
yeah, that'd be
makes
awful.
more sense that it's just two characters in general, and yeah, that makes it a lot better.
Any other cards, Mike, that you were either impressed by or unimpressed by?
Yeah, so one of the cards that I was definitely unimpressed by slash did not read properly when I picked it was Suppression, which is a zero cost. Remove one of your red dice showing range damage, then remove an opponent's die. I
Yeah.
did not read it as remove one of your red dice showing range damage.
Yep.
And the only red dice that had range damage sides in my deck were Lobot, who has one side, and the Fang Fighter, which has two. So that did not go super well for me, and I actually drafted two of those, so that was extra bad.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. That's not good.
So read the cards, I guess, is the lesson
Yeah,
here.
read the cards is a smart move usually. Another card that was fantastic in draft, and it didn't surprise me, was Personal Shield. Someone passed that to me early, and I was very psyched to grab it. Just its ability alone, preventing a damage, means you can put it on a character, put some weapons on them, and they die less quickly. But then getting pile of shields in this format, where there is no shield removal, is really disgusting.
Yeah, I totally agree. I pulled one of those as well, or I drafted one of those as well, but I never actually got to put it on the table because when I drew it, I was in positions where my characters were like at so few health that playing it just kind of felt bad. Like I was just going to be wasting two resources, and having a deck with like two 9 health characters and one 6 health character, it like didn't totally incentivize me to put like this 2 cost upgrade that. Like maybe it saves a couple damage, but my character only has 9 health anyway, so like they're still gonna die pretty quickly. I think it's better on like 10 plus health characters.
Yeah.
And then in each situation, yeah, it was like I could either play that or a gun, and I picked the gun every time, pretty much.
Yeah, I think you usually do pick the gun in this format.
Yeah.
Since I know I have more cards than you, I'll go one more time.
Okay.
I picked one of my favorite cards in Constructed right now, Confidence. And I think this is really, really good in draft because there's so few dice. If you can hit, one of their dice on a side they don't want to resolve, it's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, and like that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, what's your next card, Mike?
This is my last set of cards, and it's 2 cards, defensive position, and we have them now. They are both contingent on you having the battlefield. Every game, I won the roll off, and I took the shields, and it meant that I couldn't basically get ahead and take the battlefield at all through any of my games. And so maybe it's a case of like I should have just been more aggressive in claiming. But I remember there was one turn in our game where I had a 2 damage side sitting on the table, and I was thinking like do I resolve this or do I just claim, leave that on the table? And I chose to resolve it because 2 damage meant a lot against your deck, especially with the crap that I had. But then I drew into both. We have the mount and defensive position. Couldn't use either of them, and it just felt bad.
Yeah.
So I would have loved to be able to pick like a high point costed like strong character and then I could have maybe just run 2 characters even, or just like gone a bit faster in my games and been able to do that. But with Slave 1 and BB-8 and the Fang Fighter, like I knew that I wouldn't reliably be able to have the battlefield, so maybe just playing these cards in general was a mistake.
I think it's one of the hardest things in the draft format, at least for me early on, is knowing, is my deck a fast deck for the draft format, right?
Yeah.
Like, I looked at my deck every time, like in my sealed thing and my draft, and I went, this is a slow deck. I don't know what battlefield to use. I never drafted battlefields because I always felt like I wasn't going to be able to win them anyway. And I ended up apparently having a pretty fast deck. And so I think that's something that it's going to take a lot of practice with to figure out what makes a fast deck in Destiny, and then knowing, like, have I actually drafted a fast deck or not? And if I haven't, maybe not picking up on those cards, because it puts so much pressure on you to pass up on resources or damage that just to be able to maybe draw into them. It's just so much harder than in Constructed, right? Where you build a fast deck and have tons of cards that exploit the battlefield. Here it's like, I have 2 out of 30. Cool. Am I really building a fast deck for those 2 cards or not?
Right.
Yep, I think that's tough. A card that you mentioned briefly that I found to be totally insane is the repeating rifle, or repeating blaster, I suppose.
Yeah,
from
that
the
thing's
starter
good.
set. That special is ridiculously good, and I'm now kind of worried about it in Constructed with Yoda. That special is insane.
That does seem pretty good.
Even in, like, John and I were playing, and I got it early in one of our sealed games, rolled it out, and remember, you just have a little bit more money in draft, probably because you can't play removal because there isn't any.
Yeah.
So, and you can't find your dice, so this is the one card you have. It's like, I rolled it out, did 2 damage, rolled the special again. Sure, 2 for $1, why not? Rolled it out again, did 2 more, and he's like, what the heck is that card? How is it doing infinite damage? It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, pretty good. And in Constructed with Yoda, like, you get a resource and you get to change this to special, so you can pay for it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds pretty strong.
I am a little worried, to say the least. I'm just a little worried about Yoda, though. I've played several games with Yoda now, and I guess that'll be our next segment before we go, but we're not quite there yet. It'll be called Yoda. Is he busted? All right. Last card I want to talk about, Hidden Motive. Loved this card. This is a 0-cost blue card. It says choose a symbol, then re-roll an opponent's die. If that die just rolled the chosen symbol, remove it. It is really good against damage dice that have multiple damage sides. They roll their 2 melee on Anakin, and so instead of turning this to a non-melee side, it says turn it to a non-melee side. Unless they happen to roll melee, then it's gone.
Yeah.
It is truly remarkable card. I had overlooked how good it was at first. Like, I put it in all my decks, and the first time I played it, I was like, okay, this card is bananas. This might be one of the best removal cards in the set. So, play it.
Yeah.
Love it. It's a good card.
Yeah, definitely. Like, when I saw someone play it for the first time, because I didn't spend too much time looking through the Rivals pack before I actually, like, started drafting. Actually, no time at all. But yeah, when I first saw someone play it, I was like, oh, wow, that's just, like, straight upside. Like, either you're, getting a side that's not damaged, or you're removing the die if it shows damage. And then, is there, like, a spot requirement on it or anything?
No, there's absolutely not. It's a blue card.
That is sweet.
Yeah, I wonder if this is Constructed playable, actually.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I think
it is.
I think it is. I think that. Yeah. I think in certain decks it definitely is.
Yeah, in those decks that are playing Sound the Alarm and things like that, it's clearly not as good as Sound the Alarm. But, imagine against, like, Sabine Ezra or something. They roll out their Sabine, they miss, so then they have to re-roll. They hit the gun. You make them re-roll again. They've already re-rolled once, right? And they played their upgrade, so now they're at max 3 cards left. So they have to re-roll it again. And then it's like, if it hits the gun, it's gone. If they miss, they have to re-roll it again. And it's like, they're just out of cards at that point. So I think depending on the meta, I think it could be a really good card.
Yeah, if the meta shifts to where, like, bigger character dice are better, like sort of Spirit Rebellion-esque, or, like, Awakenings-ish, then I think it gets really good.
Yep. Let's talk about a couple funny moments from the draft. I didn't tell you we were going to do this, so I'll go first, and you can think of something if you want.
All right.
The funniest moment of the draft for me was the very beginning of the second round. So if you haven't drafted yet, the way it works is this is a really cool thing, actually, by the way. You open 3 packs, you put all the dice in the center. So everyone knows, and at least the way we did it, maybe we did it wrong, I don't know. I love how we did it, though, is that we kept the 3 dice in front of the person who opened them. So you could kind of look around and see, like, okay, this person who's next to me going to pass to me has three dice they open. One is a bomb and one is decent. I'm getting the decent one. I can choose my card based on knowing what I'm getting, right? I will get that card. And I think that's really cool. And then you can look at the next person over and go, those two are awesome. That one's garbage. I'm getting that one. I should decide now whether I want that. So I love that. And that's how we did it. So we do that. You go through once. Then you open the next 3 packs. You reverse directions, do the same thing. But so I saw the person who was going to pass to me opened a Z6 Riot Baton, a Wookiee Warrior, and something unimpactful. And so I'm looking at my pack with Leia in it. And I was like, ooh. And I don't know how much Wookiee Warrior is, by the way. I think he's 8. If he's 9, then I'm just an idiot. But I was thinking he might be 9, and I had an 8-cost guy anyway. So I was like, I'm going to pick Leia, knowing that I'm getting the Wookiee Warrior because he has to pick the Z6 Riot Baton. And then he picked the Wookiee Warrior and passed me the Riot Baton. And I almost fell out of my chair. But I was kind of annoyed because I picked a card that was pointless. And Leia was too expensive and not good enough. So I was kind of annoyed with myself that I picked Leia. But it was pretty hysterical that somebody actually passed me a Riot Baton in draft.
Yeah, and you proceeded to crush me with that Riot Baton. So.
Oh, yeah. Both my wins. It was just like Riot Baton, reroll it. Okay, there's 3 damage. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was insane. With limited removal, stuff like Riot Baton is just really, really good.
Yeah, for
Any
sure.
funny moments for you?
There were some moments where, like, okay, so I think the first round of packs that we had didn't really have that many characters in it. I think there was like a Rebel Commando somewhere, and then like just like 2 or 3 others. I got past them.
Sure. I got him.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so there was a Rebel Trooper in the first round and the second round. I got past an IG-88.
Whoa.
That I didn't take because I thought like 15 points. I think in retrospect I might have taken it, but I'm not totally sure.
Huh.
I think I probably would have. I probably should have. But like during the second round, I was like, okay, I'm not going to pick a character in the first round. I'm going to pick one in the second round.
Oh.
Eventually, people will be satisfied with the characters that they pulled, and one will get past me, and I'll be fine. And then like it gets passed around, and like I know that John is just taking all of the characters.
Yep.
And like I end up with none, and it was very sad. But
I was doing the same thing.
It was pretty funny.
Did you get no characters, Mike?
No, I got no characters.
Oh my goodness! Check out the characters I drafted.
That's why I played the Lobot Ketsu Jawa.
Jesus, I drafted Jango, Leia, Rebel Trooper, and Magna Guard, and had to pass an Unkar because it was Leia or Unkar, and the deck I was building, Unkar would not have fit very well. So yeah,
I was hoping
I drafted
to get that
4
Unkar.
characters and passed 2. I passed a Bazine as well.
I passed a fair few characters in the first round. I passed, I think, a Veers, an IG-88, and a Rebel Commando. And I could have taken any of them.
Veers might have been
You
nice.
think Veers what?
Veers might have been nice.
Yeah, especially with Slave 1.
Yeah, I ended up passing a Veers as well, but that was like really late when I had a million characters already, and I was set. I had Jango, Rebel Trooper, Anakin set at that point, and I was like, all right, sorry, Veers. Like,
yeah.
Another takeaway: Jango is not that great in draft.
That's why I passed him, but
yeah, I was a little surprised because he's only 10 health for 12. And he's a card that you have to draft over something like Ketsu, and his sides are okay, but his abilities not as good because there's such limited removal.
Yeah, limited removal and like fewer dice in general.
Yeah,
like,
right.
You can't load him up as easily and as quickly as in constructed.
Right, and I got like a Z6 Riot Baton and an IQA and a personal shield at one point. And even that was just kind of like, cool, blank on the Z6, the +3 on the IQA, and then the 1 melee damage on Jango. And I was like, what the heck? This is like this could have been your character's dead, and instead it's just a mishmash of garbage.
Yeah. He was to be fair, he was good when turn 2 you got out a Riot Baton on him.
Oh yeah. Being able to just roll in and resolve the Riot Baton was good. But what I mean is, it wasn't that like load up Django, he just wins.
Yeah.
It was just more like, cool. They couldn't mitigate, which they couldn't anyway.
Yeah, that's
But cool. I guess that could be good.
yeah.
I often
I
would
think that
roll him in, and then my second action would be re-roll.
mm-hmm.
That happened 90% of the time.
Yeah, yeah. I think what I really should have taken. I think like the one pick that that I'm like not kicking myself, but like I really should have picked was the Rebel Commando, because then I could have gone like Rebel Commando, Lobot, Anakin,
Yeah, that would have been
and
nice.
had 3 characters at 10 points, had a decent amount of health, had characters that can all do stuff. I think I would have been in a much better position if I had that. But then I wouldn't be able to play Slave One, so it's like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, Slave One felt like your best card.
Slave One was definitely my best card.
All right, let's wrap up then draft. My last words are going to be really fun. You can play with friends of yours who know how to play Destiny, but are super casual, have no collection, love Star Wars, and just want to roll some dice and have some fun. You can have fun with them in this format, and that is amazing. I'm hoping, desperately hoping, to play some Sealed with my daughter, and she'll have fun with it.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah,
in order to
I
do that, though,
absolutely
I need
loved it.
another Legacies box. So hook me up, somebody.
Yeah,
What are your final thoughts, Mike?
that draft was amazing. Yeah, I love draft. Can't wait to do it again. I'm going to correct all the mistakes that I made the first time around. And yeah, even though I made all those mistakes and like ended up with a fairly bad deck, or at least fairly bad characters, like I was okay with the deck itself. Just the characters are not great. But I still had a blast, and I can't wait to do it again.
Nice. All right. Well, that wraps that up. Next thing I want to talk about before we get to Is Yoda Broken? Holiday preview. First thing, looks like it's going to come out January 11th. We have no word yet firm on when it's releasing nationwide. I want to start with why. Why do we have a holiday preview that's January 11th? That's not a holiday as far as I'm concerned. What do you see as the upside of a holiday preview?
Well, okay. So first, I think it's important to know that it was supposed to be January 4th,
Even
which
that.
is also not a holiday.
Yeah, what holiday is that? I'm unaware of that holiday.
I don't think that it does anything. Like I don't think that there's a benefit to releasing it, like this. When they released, that first wave of Spirit of Rebellion, it was just viewed as more shortage, not as like, hey, this is a cool thing for the players. So I really don't understand why they're doing this. I think that they are very lacking in their marketing communications department as to like why or like when is the actual set coming out. Because if we knew that it might make a bit more sense, or at least people can plan around like how early is this really? Is this 2 weeks? Is this a month? Is it longer?
Is it 4 days? Is it the next Thursday it comes out?
Right? Yeah. So I have no idea.
I agree. I think a little preview the weekend before it comes out, where it's like you can only draft with it or something like that, right? Like stores are not allowed to sell boxes; they can only use it for drafts. Something like that would be
fun.
That'd be really cool, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like all they're doing is creating an artificial shortage, which just makes people mad, right? Like, so I didn't get it, and then the people who do get it, I remember last time with Spirit of Rebellion, it was such a mess. People were like, I went to 19 previews and ended up with 4 boxes and a full set. And I was like, I have 6 packs of Spirit of Rebellion because you cannot buy them.
Yeah.
And so then there was like this disagreement at the store. It's like, yes, it's not legal, but everyone wants to play with the new stuff. And I think I ended up leaving one tournament because I was like, well, Spirit of Rebellion is way over the curve, and 5 of us don't have Spirit of Rebellion. Only 3 people do.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to play in the tournament tonight. I'll just play and hang out, and this is not going to work for me. And that's really all they're doing is creating this dichotomy between those who have and don't have, and the eBay prices go through the roof, and then everyone's mad. Like, I see the downsides so clearly, and I see 0 upside.
Yep, sadly I agree.
Yeah, which is it comes back to that repeated thing of FFG really looks like they have no clue how to manage a real game, which, to be honest, isn't surprising, right? Like, they have a million games. It's a giant board game company. It's not Wizards of the Coast. It's like, we do this one thing, and we do it well. They're just like, this is one of the things we do. Sorry, we can't put every ounce of energy into this.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely feels like that.
Yeah. But, oh well. Moving on. I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that. If people at your store have Legacies, yeah, that might happen. Hey, I'm gonna play my Yoda deck against you. And you're like, Yoda? I haven't seen Yoda. Oh yeah, here. See, he's awesome. Oh, nice. So let's move to Yoda, Mike. I decided that I'm gonna start playing Legacies, and I played quite a few Yoda games. I'm trying to figure out where I think the best Yoda deck is, and I think Yoda's broken. Like, I think he's so good that he's a problem, and the reason is chaining specials. I think that's just too good of a mechanic for Yoda. Bear with me, Mike. Here's how it works. Turn 1, you roll in Yoda. You can just roll in Yoda, and you go, I hit one special, one whatever. I use my special, get $1. Turn the other one to a special. Now I have $3. Now I can play a 3-cost upgrade on the other guy. Or, what I like to do instead, I've already rolled the other person in, the high damage guy. So I roll in Yoda second. I go special, get $1, turn Yoda's other side to a special, get $1, turn Poe to a 2 damage. So they either have to remove it, or I got 2 damage and $2 turn 1 off Yoda's roll in. Then I get to play a light bow on Yoda. And now they're like, I thought I was supposed to kill Poe because he's the only dude with damage sides. And so they still go after Poe. And then now they're committed to Poe. You're able to caution Poe, whatever. The next turn you play another light bow or a lightsaber or anything with a special on Yoda. By the time they kill Poe, you have Yoda with 3 upgrades with specials on them where he can just roll out and go, special chance. You're like, what just happened? What just happened? Yoda just went insane. You're like, yeah, have you seen episode 2? That's what just happened.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. I don't have a ton of insight because I haven't played with or against Yoda yet, but that sounds very strong.
It has been obscenely strong. I will temper this with people are screwing around, right? It's hard to get really awesome test games in where you're like, yep, deck's broken. Like, you can put a deck up and be like, it went 800-0, and you're like, yeah? What'd you play against? You're like, Wedge Bays. Like, yeah, okay. What? That is not a deck, sir. I don't know what to tell you. That doesn't count. But yeah, I really am worried about Yoda. Like, I hope he's not broken because his card is amazing and he's really fun. But I'm really worried that he's broken. And the answer might simply be, do we really need the special chaining mechanic? I kind of think we don't.
Yeah. Probably not. I mean, like, they could remove it from the game and not that many negative things would happen. You wouldn't be able to, like, holocron in an upgrade and then use the upgrade,
which is great.
Which is probably fine.
Yeah,
you wouldn't be able to Poe a special into another special. Yeah,
yep.
I think that would be a fine thing to do. But then, like, what makes a special any different than a focus in that scenario? I mean, obviously, in Yoda's case, it is more than one thing. But
I'm fine with.
I'm cool with it.
I'm fine with not chaining anything. I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah.
Like, even focus.
So
like, you just
you can chain focus. You could go like one focus.
The way it would work is whatever sides your dice are showing at the start of your action is the side that they can be resolved on that action.
Right.
And my point is, it slows the game down a little bit more, right? Like, this is what we all want, is the game to go a little bit slower without, like, weird artificial ways of doing it. We want the game to function the same way, and this would kind of just a hair slow everything down.
Yeah, I think that that'd be cool. That'd be I mean, I would want to kind of test it out and see how it works.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
The premise seems fine.
Yeah, I'm not proposing that as something we should play in the game tomorrow. I'm proposing that as we should be looking at that.
Try it out.
The test team should look at that, and we should decide if that's a direction we want to go.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think that regardless of whether or not Yoda, ends up being, busted, like that is still something to look at?
No, I think. Oh yeah, I do. I think regardless of Yoda, I'm up for anything that slows the game down without changing the game.
Yeah. I think it makes the game a bit more skill based as well.
Yeah, you have to plan ahead is the point, right? You have to be like, okay, I'm going to focus this to the 2 focus. They've already played a removal. Now they don't have money. It's unlikely they would have another one. Like, you are now planning 3-4 moves ahead instead of just like, rah. Well, let's do it all right now. And I'm a big fan of planning it. That's what initially drew me to this game. It felt like a chess match, right? I was like, I go, you go, I go, you go. I have to plan 7 moves ahead, possibly several whole rounds ahead. And now I feel like that's less and less the case. I feel like as you roll out your dice, you resolve as many as you can, and you move on. All right. We are not live this week. I'm not feeling well. I didn't want the added, potential problems of being live. So we don't have any live viewer questions. So we are going to wrap things up here. And Mike, where can people find you on this thing they call the internet? Or used to call the internet. I don't know. Maybe Comcast will get to rebrand it like the Castnet.
Well, on Castnet, you can find me on my main podcast, The Smugglers. No, I'm just kidding. On the half kidding. The Jedi Trials. We record usually on Mondays, but as it is the holidays, it's been a bit hard to get together to record. So I would look for more consistent releases after the start of the year. And then sort of a tangent, like leading up to the Last Jedi, I deleted all the social media apps from my phone and just stopped going on the internet basically, and it was incredible. So I have not re-downloaded those apps onto my phone. And I am not using social media very much. So
nice. Has it been freeing?
If anybody wants, it's been super freeing. If anybody wants a bit less stress in their life, I highly recommend it.
Nice. All right. Also, before we go, no spoilers, by the way. Just do we like it or not? So you don't have to worry. I'm going to put myself on the limb and say, really liked episode 8. How about you, Mike?
I loved it.
There we go. All right. That's going to wrap up another edition of the Smugglers Den. And as always, until next time, keep smuggling. Keep smuggling.